Hey everyone, in today's video, I'm sharing how I'm using my Cricut to create birthday party decorations for my daughter's 4th birthday. The theme is Forever Sweet, and I'll be showing you the Cricut projects I'm making to go along with this theme. If you love party DIYs and Cricut ideas, make sure to stick around to see what I've put together. First, I'm starting off by making her a shirt to wear at her party. I was looking for a blank long sleeve pink shirt because her birthday's in February, but I struggled and could not find anything anywhere. I want bright colors for her theme, so I'm using Caesar Neon HTV. I just love how bright and colorful this is. I'm in Cricut Design Space. I already have this created over here, but I'll show you how I put it together. I'm using the font JT Grove for 4. And what I'm going to do is type in the F, do 3 spaces, and then I'll do the rest. I just want to leave a space for the donut. Then I'll grab my next font. I love this font. It also helps that it's my name. So I'll type Ever. Then I'll type in Sweet. I'll grab a random pink. I'll use the one that's already in here. Then I'm doing orange and yellow. Now I'll grab my donut. I'm just using images from Cricut Design Space. And I'm gonna do this one. I'll make it smaller to fit inside here. I do need to make the colors the same. The easiest way to do this is go over to material colors. So for the donut color, I want it to be the same orange. It makes it a lot easier to not have to use 2 different vinyl colors. So I am going to move that down to here, and you can see it changed it to the same color. Also, to make the sprinkles easier, I'm just doing one color for that. I'm doing them all yellow. And to make this easy, I just slide it all into the yellow, just like that. Also, you can see this pink is a different color pink than this one. If this were to go to the Cricut mat, it would put it on 2 different mats. And I want it to be on the same mat, so I'm using the same vinyl. Hopefully that makes sense, but here you can see the pink in the layers panel. I'm just going to slide this down to this bright pink. I did make this a little bit smaller. This is going on a 4 t-shirt. To size it, I select over everything, then I just switch it to 6 inches for the width. Over in the Make It screen, like I said, it will separate it by color. For my cut setting, I'm doing Everyday Iron-On. The Cricut is starting with the orange color. I make sure to place it carrier sheet side down. Then it'll move on to the other 2 colors. I just love using the Cricut machine for my kids' birthday parties. It is a great way to just make it my own, and even though it's extra work most of the time, it does end up saving me money in the long run, so I just really enjoy it. I'm using my Easy Press Mini for this. I set it to 315 for 30 seconds. While that's warming up, I'll weed out the designs. Someone had commented on one of my YouTube videos and suggested this lighted weeder. It is awesome. The one I bought came with 2, the hook tool and also the pen type tool, so that's amazing. I just wish it was a little cuter. I don't like the color, but I definitely recommend it. I always have all my products I'm using linked in my description box. One thing I forgot to mention is the sprinkles. You'll want to make sure it's attached. Otherwise, it's random and makes it a lot easier to line it up. A hack I've been doing for years now is when I go to preheat my shirt, I fold it in half. So not only does that preheat it, but when I open up the shirt, there is a line going down the exact center. When I'm layering a shirt and using multiple vinyl colors, the first thing I like to do is just place it all down on the shirt so I know where I want everything to go. I try to press as many as I can in one go. You don't want to press when the carrier sheets are overlapping. So I removed the orange vinyl, but I kept the pink and the yellow. I press this for only about 10 seconds. You don't want to press it for the full 30 because I'm going to be doing multiple presses. You want to be able to heat it just enough that it'll tack it down and you can remove that carrier sheet. I find that the Caesar Easy Weed handles this really well. When adding my next vinyl, I like to trim the carrier sheet as much as possible. The reason why is if it's long and going over the other vinyl already on the shirt, I've had it leave lines in it before, so I find this to be the best way to do it. Then I press it for about 10 seconds again. I always use a Teflon sheet or parchment paper to protect the vinyl that's already down. Now I just have the donut left to layer. I do the pink piece for 10 seconds, then I do the sprinkles. Normally for the last one, I'll do the full 30 seconds, but I felt like it had a lot of heat already, so I just did 15 seconds to finish the whole shirt off. I'll show this final look at the end with the shoes that I'm going to make for her. For my next project, I'm going to be personalizing party hats for the cousins that are coming. There's going to be 8 kids in total. Here's the vinyl I'm going to be using. It is so gorgeous. It's Tech Wrap Satin Metallic. Look how well it matches the gold on the party hats, even how the light hits both. When picking vinyl colors to add to blanks, I like to incorporate another color that's already on the blank so it just ties in well with it. I found these at Target and this fits her Sweets birthday theme so well. For my video, I'm only showing my kids' names. I'm going to go back and add the cousins' names later. The text I'm using is BFC Autumn Harvest. I found a font bundle over on Etsy and it has a ton of these fonts. It is so good. I think there's like 20 in total. Normally I just use the Creative Fabrica fonts, but I really liked this one a lot. I'll link it down in my description box. I'm using 2 of the fonts in this video. I'm just going to type in Quinn. For the size, I decided to do 0.75 for the height. I measured where I wanted it to go on the hat. It was pretty narrow, so that's why I decided to measure by the height to make sure it'll fit. Next, I'll hit Command D, then I'll type in Josh. I like to duplicate it because it makes it the same font size. I just make sure the height is under 0.75 inches, and it is. For my cut setting, I use the holographic vinyl setting. The Cricut will cut out the names. If you've created projects for birthday parties, let us know in the comments what you've done. I always love getting ideas, especially for future parties. I like to roll up the excess vinyl. Then when I weed out the inside of the letters or other tiny pieces, I can just stick it onto that sticky side. It works really well. Then I'm ready to add my transfer tape. I love this transfer tape because this vinyl is getting added to paper hats, and sometimes if you have transfer tape, when you peel it away, it takes off that paper or part of whatever you're adding the vinyl to. This doesn't do that at all, but it's sticky enough that it can easily pick up the vinyl too. It's just the best. It's the Caesar transfer tape, and I have that linked in my description box also. I'm using the same transfer paper that I used for Josh, and you can do this multiple times. Eventually it becomes not sticky enough, but it's so nice because it really saves on material. Here's how these turned out. I think it'll be really fun for the kids and especially to have their names on them. For my next project, I'm making a cardstock banner to go on our fireplace. I'm back in Cricut Design Space. Here is what the banner is going to look like. I have this set at 50%, but if I bring it closer, that's actually the size of the letters. I'm just going to keep this to the side and I'll show you how I put this together. The font that I'm using is BFC Mango Cakes. This is a really fun font, especially for kids. So what I did was typed in all caps 4, then I duplicated it, I typed in sweet, I duplicated it one more time. Oh, I meant to write ever. Okay, we have forever sweet. Then to figure out my sizing, I actually had ChatGPT help me. I measured the length of what I want my banner to be. Then I told ChatGPT this is the wording and I asked what size to make the letters. And it said approximately 4.5 inches for the height. And it's kind of crazy because it worked really well. So what I'm going to do is make this 4.5 inches, which is about what it is already. We'll make this 4.5 and this one 4.5. Whoops, that's 45. Now I do want these to be all different colors. So what I do next is I'm going to click on edit. I'll go down here and I'll ungroup to letters for all of these. So you'll want to figure out your sizing first, but now I have each letter separate so I can change the colors. We're going to do pink and then I'm going to do a pattern. I believe I have 5 colors. So we'll do pink, purple, blue, yellow, and orange. And then obviously I would keep going. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to put holes in these. It makes it so much easier to have the Cricut machine cut that out for you. You'll need the holes to put the cord or the string through to hang it. It really makes it so much easier. To do that, I'll grab a circle. I actually asked ChatGPT what size to make this also, and it said 0.2 inches. Then what I do is I bring it over here and I kind of just estimated where I wanted this. You want to have enough space on the top and side that it's not going to rip or anything, but that looks pretty good. Then I hit duplicate and I place it over here. I think this is new. I've never noticed this with Cricut Design Space, but look what you can do now. You can see those 3 purple lines. It's showing how it's lined up. That is amazing. It reminds me of Canva, how Canva does that. You want these lined up. You don't want it to be like further down, otherwise it's going to be lopsided. What I'll do next is slice these out. Sadly, I can't slice more than 2 layers at a time, so I have to do each one individually. Okay, and that's how that looks. I thought the holes looked too big, but it was actually perfect. One other thing I want to show you with these letters is some of it is lopsided. So the T is lopsided, but I still wanted it to be lined up. So I just brought it down to the lower point. I'll hit duplicate, bring it over here, and I'll use those lines to make sure it's lined up again. And that way it's going to still be straight on the string. Once I go through, change the colors, do all the slicing, then I'm left with this over here. The letters are big, but here in the Make It screen, it's not really using up a crazy amount of paper, which is nice. I am using 12 by 12 and it just separates it all by color. For my cut setting, I'm using medium cardstock. I absolutely love the colors of this cardstock. It's from Michaels. It's the Recollections brand and it's called Bright Essentials. I use these colors in my totes in my dream box, and like it says, it's just so bright and colorful. So I think the colors will be great for her birthday party decor. I'm arranging the letters in order, then I'm going to add the cording through. I have tried so many different string, twine, things like that for banners, but I have found this to be the best. It's called cording, and I'll link that down below as well. After I got this whole thing put together, I thought it would be really cute to add a donut in between each wording. Of course, it would have been nice to think about it beforehand, so I'm just going to quickly show you in Cricut Design Space how I did that. Here's the donut that I'm going to be using. I just grabbed one from Cricut Design Space. For this, what I want to do is change the colors to match these. My voiceover cut out from my Cricut Design Space filming, but to do that, I go to the material colors and I just find the sprinkles and I add it to the same letter colors. To size it, I make it just a little bit smaller than the letters, so it ended up being about 4.1 inches for the height. Then I group all these letters together and hide it. On the Make It screen, I change it to 2 copies, so it'll cut out 2 of the donuts. The Cricut will cut out those pieces, and I just use the same cardstock. To put this together, I'm using the Barely Art glue. I just despised gluing projects until I found this. It makes it so much easier, and I actually enjoy these type of projects now. This glue has a fine tip, which makes it easy to glue tiny pieces, and I just scatter the sprinkles on here. I am so glad I added this. Look how cute it looks. I completely forgot to add the holes in Cricut Design Space, and I decided to use this little hole punch. I don't even know what it is, but it's pretty tiny, so I had to do it multiple times. It definitely did not look as clean or look as good. I added the banner to the fireplace so you can see how it looks. And it's funny, I said the letters were perfect, but they probably could have been a little bit bigger. However, I am doing a balloon arch, so this is going to go a little bit lower and underneath it. It might be perfect for that. Just a really fun way to decorate for her party. For my next project, I found these favor bags at Michael's. Look how perfect they are. They have sprinkles on them. I'm going to add a personalized tag for each one. I'm in Cricut Design Space, and first I'm going to search for a tag. I'm going to use this one. I'll change it to white. Next, I'll grab my font. This is the same font as the party hats, and it's kind of nice to have it match up. So I type in Quinn. Then I'll duplicate it and type in what I have over here. I have thank you for making, oh my, for making my birthday so, oh my goodness, so sweet. Then I'll just bring it over here, and I just kind of eyeballed this. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. Then I grabbed 2 images from Cricut Design Space. If you watch my channel, I normally use Creative Fabrica images. I actually rarely use Cricut Design Space, but for some reason I just found it easier this time, especially for simple designs like this. Now I'm going to figure out my color. I have a fun way of doing this. I use the color dropper and I line it up over this pink bag. I just select it and it will copy it for me. Then I go in here and it copies that code. So when I print this off, it's going to print that color, and it'll match really well with the bag. It's such a great hack. For the donut, I'm actually going to do the same thing also. I'll change it to that same pink. And I'll do the same thing for the ice cream. Once I'm done and happy with it, then I select over the entire thing. You want to make sure every single layer is selected. Then I'll hit flatten. For the size, I'm doing 2 inches for the width. I just measured the width of the bag and kind of where I wanted it to go. I'll send this to the printer. I am going to turn off the bleed because it's all white. There's no need for it. And I'll turn on my system dialog so I can change the quality to best. I'm using white 65-pound cardstock for this. For my cut setting, I just select medium cardstock. Since I'm only using one for an example, I can reuse this cardstock. I just cut off what's been used and place it in my printer. To add it to the bag, I fold over the top about 1 inch or 2. I hole punch the center of the bag. Then I grab my tag and line up the hole from the tag. Somehow it was the perfect size and I didn't even plan that. I run the ribbon through the back, then I tie a bow. Once I have the bow tied, I cut off the ribbon. I usually cut it a little too short and I don't know why. I need to make sure I give myself a little extra space. I'm going to put fruit snacks, ring pops, mini Rice Krispies in here. I want to do that before adding the ribbon and tag, but I'm just doing this as an example. It just turned out so cute. I am very excited for my last project. I'm pretty sure it's my favorite one. I'm going to add sprinkles to the shoes using heat transfer vinyl. I found these at Walmart. They were around $10. Hobby Lobby might have some too. I just wasn't sure if they had kid ones. I'm back in Cricut Design Space. First, I'm going to grab a square. I was kind of struggling trying to figure out how to do this, but what I did was I measured the shoes and it was about 3.5 inches for the width and the height. That includes how it curves on the front. So what I did was I made a guide that size. Then I found these sprinkles in Design Space. I am going to change the colors of it. I can't remember exactly what I did for this, but I just made it fit inside the square. I duplicated it. And then for the bottom, I think I just rotated it. And I ended up with this. On the Make It screen, it's going to pull in like this. I only cut out sprinkles for the first shoe. I wanted to make sure it worked first before I did the second one. I decided to look at my computer and line up all 3 sprinkle colors first. Then I placed it on the shoe to figure out which ones will work to press. There were some on both edges that I just knew wouldn't work, so I trimmed those off. I didn't want to waste them, so I'm actually going to use some of these to add sprinkles on the side of the shoes as well. I'm using my Easy Press Mini for this, and I set it to medium. I pick one color. I decided to do yellow. Want something to press into for this, so I'm just adding a towel inside and it works really well. When I set it down, since it's curved, it was hard to place it flat. So I cut slits in the carrier sheet. This is a first for me. Normally I do that with transfer tape, like if I'm adding it to a round mug, but it worked really well for this. It wasn't sticking down like great, so I decided to grab heat transfer tape to make sure all the sides are nice and flat on the shoe. That worked really well. Then I was ready to use my Easy Press Mini to press these sprinkles down. You might want to use a Teflon sheet, but I just try to be really careful and use the pointy part of the press. That just worked so perfectly for these because it was able to just press each sprinkle. As you can see, I just went one by one for each of them and pressed them. I honestly didn't do it for too long. I feel like maybe 5 seconds for each one. Then I removed the carrier sheet and it just adhered so well. I was so impressed. I add the next color and followed the exact same process because it worked really well. Do have to be careful with the rubber side of the shoe. There was one spot that I did where I pressed it up against it and it was just about to start to melt it, but thankfully I noticed it. I don't think I've ever added HTV to shoes before. I've seen others do it, but now I'm like, why have I never done this? It's really fun. After I removed this, I noticed there was a couple spots on both sides that looked a little bare, so I went in and added a couple pink sprinkles back in. I just used the ones that I had trimmed off earlier. This is where I was about to melt the rubber, so you can see I noticed it and I flipped the Easy Press Mini around to go the other way. As you can see, I have both done now and I am just adding sprinkles to the sides, and I think that just makes it even cuter. Here's a final look at how the shirt and shoes turned out. She's just gonna wear some leggings with this, and she saw the shoes in here and got so excited about them. I think it'll be really cute for her birthday. I hope you enjoyed this video and found some inspo if you are wanting to craft for birthday parties. If you're new here, I would love it if you subscribed so you don't miss any of my videos. And let me know what you want to see on my channel. What are things you're wanting to create with your Cricut machine this year? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.